Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good night, good morning from wherever you're watching from. This is another episode of Bless the Author, and we are going to get in growing through grief. And I'm going to have my author introduce herself to you all.
Hello, hello. My name is Ashley Gooden Stewart. I am the CEO and founder of the Baby Stewart Foundation and also author of the book Growing Through Grief.
Yes, so we are so excited to have you on. Hold on. We are excited to have you here on Bless the Author, and we are going to let me we are going to discuss this book, Growing Through Grief, and it was um really good. And as I was sitting, I was like, okay, all the questions I want to ask, like I didn't want to how, what's the word I'm trying to say? I didn't want to go too deep and ask too many questions, um, because of the situation of the book. First I know it has been a while, but I do want to give my condolences to you on the
Thank you.
loss of your baby. Um, I know that can be a grief that you could never get over, right? And so before we get into it all, let's just talk about what inspired you to name the book Growing Through Grief.
Okay. And initially I named the book Growing and Changes Through Grief. However, I
Uh-huh.
got a little pushback, when you get that little feedback, from the collective, and they're like, wait a
Uh-huh.
minute, growing, changing. It's all a part of the journey. It's all a part of the process. So let's call it growing through grief. And I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. So I agree with the collective. And
Uh-huh.
it's just basically, you know, it stemmed from my personal journey because people say that grief is a healing process. Even though you don't 100% heal, you're growing, you're changing every day. You're learning something new about yourself. And that's how I felt on my grief journey.
Absolutely. And that kind of takes us into the next question. Like you was growing through your journey, and so as you were growing, what inspired you to just put it all on in a book?
Honestly, it was tough. I had people all over social media, in person, just all around the world, just ask me the question, well, how do you get through it? How do you get through grief? How do you get through child loss? How do you get through infant loss? Like, it was very hard for me. So, they just wanted to know that it was a light at the end of the tunnel. And
Hmm.
for years, I've tried to put it into words in just one overall perspective, and it was hard. So it actually took me 7 years to get it on paper, to get all my thoughts together, and just create this brief synopsis, not only on my perspective, but also on tips on the grievances of other things, loss of self, loss of job, loss of a home, finances that we all go through.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? That is good to have a book or have some type of outline that you can go to help you get over your whatever you're grieving, whatever, if it's a loss, if it's a loss of a loved one, loss of a house, loss of whatever it is that you lost. That's good that you can have something to go to show you the steps you can take to get over it. And that's another good thing about your book. So before we get into any more about the book, tell us about Ashley. Tell us about Ashley as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, up until your age now.
Okay, so as a child, I would call myself, and even now, the outgoing introvert. A lot of people will beg to differ. Some of my siblings, growing up in a household with would say, "Oh, you always had a group of friends. Everyone knew your name. You were very active. You were in social clubs. Like you took the lead. You advocated." That's the type of person I was. I love
Mhm,
to, even growing up, be a voice for the people that was going around society just unseen and unheard. And
mhm,
even like a neighbor that was like two houses down from me, I would go play with my neighborhood friend. And
mhm,
I just noticed like her great grandmother would be like ducked off in a room, sick, shut in. And I was always a inquisitive child. I was always curious. I was like, hey, what's going on in there? So eventually, I got in that room and started to talk with her, and I'm like, "Okay, she seemed like she's in the right state of mind, why don't they have her out in the living room? Because my grandpa was disabled, but he would still be
mhm,
interactive with us and engaging and having fun, enjoying holidays and everything with us. And so I would just come and visit her every day and read to her, read, like, the children Bible stories, and
uh-huh,
that's where my capacity to care and my compassion just stemmed from childhood, being around my grandparents that were sick and disabled, and just teaching me to always care about humanity, always give back, always care for others. And you never just know what someone is going through, so you want to kind of step in or just show some kind of kindness, say hi, how are you doing, just simple acts like that that will make somebody day.
okay, okay. That's good. That's really good that you took to people in that way. Um, so we know that I'm trying to see how I'm gonna say this. I'm sorry. Grieving a loved one is hard. Um, I lost my dad, and I actually didn't know how would it affect me when I lost my dad because we really wasn't that close. Um, so I didn't really know. Like I knew that it was coming. That eventually that he would pass because of the things that he was going through. And so I really didn't know. Like we don't know. Even knowing that somebody's getting ready to pass, you won't know how it's going to affect you until it actually, happens. But I had my moments with him. When he passed, I had my moments, and then I moved on. And so I asked my son one day. I was like, "Is it does do you think like it's something wrong or it's bad because I'm really not affected as much by my dad's passing?" And so he was like, "No, because you really can't miss something that you didn't have, and so y'all really didn't have a relationship. So um that's not something you can miss, you know." And so
Right.
um I can relate to losing a parent because I did lost my dad. I lost my dad, and it did kind of have a little sting. But the getting over it part was something that I can say, okay, I had my moment, he gone, and so it sucks that he's not here no more. Where we could have built a relationship, but he's not. So, we have to move on. But losing a loved one that is closer to you, I didn't have, I've never had that. So I can't say like, oh, I feel your pain, but I can imagine that losing someone that close to you, how it can really, really affect you, especially in your position of losing a child. Like I never lost a child, and I don't know what I'll do if I would lose one of my children. And so if you don't mind, kind of like take us to that place when it all first happened.
When it all first happened, it took me to a place of, your worst nightmare actually becoming reality, because I can't say I've never known anybody to lose an infant, because I've had peers, I had classmates, I had even friends um
Mm,
lose their child within the first year or less. Um Whether it was like, with them cancer, or like environmental hazard exposure,
mm,
to the infant, just various things, stillbirths, all kind of situations have happened to my friends. And I was thinking to myself during those times, like, they have to be the strongest people, alive, to rebuild their lives afterwards, have another child afterwards, and do all the things and pick up themselves and still be a productive citizen of society. And then when I
mm,
thought of my situation, I just fell apart. Like I spiraled into a very dark, deep depression. Um, it's just I looked for my child everywhere. Like this was not real. Like, my morning consisted of tell my baby bye and give him a kiss or anything, like, just
mm,
having those regrets, and, tracking back all the memories, and in that short time spent with my child, I just felt like, you know, in life, you think you have time. In reality, we don't have time. You know,
mhm,
our children, they're our children, but I'm a spiritual person. They
mhm.
they belong to God,
God, yeah,
and
absolutely.
to release my child back to God, reading these stories and biblically about Abraham and everything. I'm reading these
Mm,
stories with my child, like I can recall that, even that memory. And I was like,
mm,
oh, he a strong one, he a good one, he's a faithful one, because that, like, I would release my child with God asked me to, because I'm his faithful servant, because I'm his faithful servant and believer. Even though I feel like I am a strong son, in the army of the Lord, like I do. You never can equip yourself. However, I had to feel the emotions. I had to go through it. I had to talk to God. I didn't hate him. I didn't question him really, you
mhm.
know, but I had to just sit down in my alone time and just actually feel it and go through it. Just
Abs-
go through it. It was, I had to go through therapy, of course, but just talking to people that are unfamiliar, that wanted to judge the situation, that wanted to, fault me as a mother or condemn me as a believer, or just watch to see if a train wreck was going to even happen. Like, this is my human
mhm,
experience. This is not a Lifetime movie. Um, this is me real and fresh, trying to piece the pieces of my life, that the loss of my firstborn child, my son, CJ, and just rebuild and move forward. I didn't know what that looked like. I honestly, shoot, 11 years, and that constant reminder, like, 11 years ago, it's been 11 years without my child. Like, he's supposed to be here with me. What greater place is he supposed to be?
right. Wow. Mm. Okay, so you going through this law, the loss of your child, and you are in this place where you feel like all hope is lost and there's no more. What oh, excuse me. When did you finally say, okay, I'm never going to get over this and I'm going to have my moments, but I got to get up and live?
I can't say a particular time frame, um,
Mm,
because, like, who actually counts down, like, the minute, the hour, the second, the month, the years, even when
Mhm.
every day you live with this aching pain that, you know, there's an empty chair here, or there's
Mhm.
milestones that were never, hit, or my child didn't even get to take his first steps on earth. So I don't have a particular time frame that I told myself, okay, I'm going to pick up and rebuild and do all of that. Like I said, these
Mhm.
talks with God, even like in my brokenness, me collapsing on the floor crying, me just feeling like I can't do anything and I'm helpless, just begging out, reaching out to God, asking him to send me some type of sign or a vision on what I need to do next. And then that's when
Mhm.
he led me to, okay, you need to start the Baby Stewart Foundation in memory of your son. Now, in that moment, that was like a few weeks after his passing, that I
Mhm.
decided that, like, while I'm grieving, while I'm getting the help, while I'm getting the necessary tools to help myself, I'm also in the process of starting something that I never known that would impact the whole wide world and people overseas, which was the Baby Stewart Foundation. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought, in my brokenness, in that moment right there, I couldn't even lift my arms up to comb my hair, to bathe or cook or do any of the basic things for myself, that God led me to start a 501(c)(3).
Mm. Okay, so while we're right there, tell us more about the Baby Stewart Foundation.
Okay, so the Baby Stewart Foundation is a 501(c)(3). We were founded in Lamarck, Texas, which is my hometown, which I grew up in.
Mhm.
And I relocated here. I was living in Austin at the time. And I came back to my hometown just to simply heal. So when I started the 501(c)(3), I reached out to two people that I've known and that have nonprofit organizations that have been successful in Galveston County. And
Mhm.
when I reached out to the first lady, she told me that she was gonna have someone contact me. A week later, that never happened. So I she told me to reach out to her sister, which I did, and she said she was gonna have somebody contact me, and they never contacted me. So about week
Mm.
3, I was like, no, it's time to get this ball rolling. Like I just don't want my son's death to be, you know, just because he'd be another statistic, he'd be another number in the book. I wanted to do something powerful and meaningful for his legacy. And so I reached out to my mentor back in Austin, Barry Silverberg. I went through his mentorship. I went through his nonprofit leadership program at Austin
Mhm.
Community College. And I told him the story. He was like, I ain't know nothing about it, Ashley, but what I can do for you is to help you start this nonprofit. I'm like, I have no way to pay you, but just name a price and I will. And he was like, you don't have to pay me anything. Just make sure that your organization is successful and never quit, never give up.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
so thank you. And we started by helping families in need, just with the toddlers and the babies. I wanted to be a
Mhm.
resource to them because I know what I've experienced at the start of motherhood, being underemployed, not having enough to cover utilities and rent, and just, being a young, struggling family. So it was just very hard, but I used my resources and everything, to make ends meet, and it still wasn't enough, you know. So that's when I said I just want to be a resource for these families. But now we pretty much help everybody. We help the unhoused, sick and shut in, senior citizens. We go into the schools and help the youth. Um, we help with disaster relief from here all the way to Florida. If they call us, we come in. We use our own resources and everything.
Oh, that is good. See how God and that just goes to what the enemy meant for bad. God used it for my good. That just goes. That just speaks to that. And God is
Amen.
good. God is good. So let's talk a little bit about some of the steps that you
Yes,
took.
he is.
First, before we go into the steps that you took, let's talk about the Ugly Shoe group that you joined in on Facebook. Tell us about that.
Well, the Ugly Shoe Club, I mean, it's a reference to belonging to a club that, no one wants to be here. No one wants to even invite anyone here, but we happen to be here because um we lost a child. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where that stems from. But as far as like community, that would be the Compassionate
Mm-hmm.
Friends. That's the community
Okay.
that
Okay.
embraced me online.
Uh-huh.
And that's who I dug a little deeper when I Google searched them, as
Uh-huh.
far as a resource for the bereaved. And
Uh-huh.
I gave their national headquarters a call, and that's when they informed me that they have a national conference and a local chapter in my area, for the bereaved. So in 2016, that's when I joined them in Scottsdale, Arizona for their national conference.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna talk about these steps that you have given for someone to take in the book. You tell them to shower, moisturize everything, put on clothes, comfortable, um, put on clean, comfortable clothes, and etc. Things for them to do, um, to try to help themselves feel a little better. Tell us how these things helped you, to feel better.
It helped me to feel better because, I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I was just drained. It literally felt like my body had caught the flu. Like I was hot all over, head throbbing. If you ever had the flu, you know, it felt like physically that's how I felt every single day. Waking up, folding my bed, looking for my baby, like it was just wild to me. So in those moments, just taking those little steps to make myself feel better, and self-care, like, self-care is not, a bubble bath or a luxurious getaway. Like it is something that you need, that's critical, that you need for survival. It's out of necessity to take care of yourself. So taking those little steps, just putting on some comfortable, just changing into some comfortable pajamas or some sweats, or you know you take a little shower or a little wipe off, like doing all these hygienic things to make
Mhm.
myself feel better. Stretching in the morning, taking a little walk around the neighborhood, getting grounded, putting my toes in the grass. Like all those little things help kind of build my confidence, um, and help build me. It was self-preservation.
Okay, okay. I can see you doing those things to kind of ground you. So you talked about something in the book that I say a lot when I talk to someone that is grieving. You talked about how people say, um, no, I'm sorry. You said don't allow people to tell you when to stop grieving. I talk about that a lot with people that are grieving because we don't know the magnitude of your pain when you losing a loved one. And so I'm glad that you spoke about that because a lot of us feel like, okay, we're gonna take this time during the funeral and we're gonna grieve, and then once the funeral's over, we're gonna get over it. No, you can't tell somebody how long to grieve. And I always say, grieve at your own pace, but don't stay there. Eventually it's time to move on. You can still grieve because you're gonna always grieve and missing that loved one, but you gotta get up and continue to go on with your life. And so, when where did that mindset come from, and how did you use that to help you, um, kind of push through?
Well, that mindset, it stemmed from a lot of things, because when you think about, our elders,
Hmm.
um, sometimes growing up, you was told, oh, crying, it shows weakness. Never cry in front of people, cry alone. or that person is dead, like what are you crying, and what is not going to bring them back, so they wouldn't want you
Mhm.
to do this and that. So it all stemmed
Mhm.
from that. And I think honestly, when you are grieving and going through these emotions, people want you to hurry up and heal for their sake because it makes them feel uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
And in reality, this person has to go through this in order to move in a forward position. Like, even with the jobs, I just feel like it's a lot of insensitive things. My
Yes.
job told me that I had a month off after the loss of my child, and then I can return back to work. Well, why would I want to return back to the very place that was very toxic and
Uh-huh.
not accommodating, for childcare, postpartum
Uh-huh.
care, FML. It's just crazy how society can put a used to be one day or two if it was immediate
Right.
family only.
Uh-huh.
So I just thought this was like, this is just so insensitive. So, I just feel like those jobs, they'll replace you. You outgrow people all the time, whether it's
Mhm.
family or friends on your journey. This is a new you, and people got to accept it or reject it. Because,
Yeah.
if I could go back to the old me, I would, but this is me now. And my heart, everything, my mind frame, I'm not that same person. And I don't think I ever want to be. I like this improved person of me. I'm healing every day. I'm
Mhm.
growing every day. I'm learning every day. I'm appreciating life a little bit
Mhm.
more. I'm leaning closer to God. And it's on my terms. It's not what makes you comfortable. And it is people that just sit there and don't do anything with the rest of their life because of their loved one. But you know why? They
What?
feel more connected to the deceased
Mhm.
loved one. They feel like if they let go of that pain from that day one, that pain, that darkness and everything that they felt, then they
Mhm.
feel like they will lose their loved one. But you can let go of that
Mhm.
pain, all of the
Mhm.
negative emotions and everything that tells you
Mhm.
you're nothing, all that the devil working on you. However way you feel fit, talk, give it to God, leave it on the altar. Well, however you want to do that, however that looks for you, release
Mhm.
it in the ocean. Like we even had that before. We released everything in the ocean and at a bonfire, like with our grief share on the beach. But
Mhm.
whatever that looks like for you, release that part, and you can still move forward. And you still, your loved one, you love them. That's why you're grieving. You will never lose those memories. If you feel that way, then you ask God or your higher being, hey, please let them come visit me in a dream. Let me have these memories, because I swear to you, the memory is going to come back. A sound is going to trigger it, a smell, a meal, a route. Something is going to trigger that happy emotion too, not just the bad ones, the happy emotions.
Right. Right. That's good. So let's talk about, now you have three beautiful children. Um, the is the loss of CJ. Does it make you? Did it make you like be over parenting or over I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Just overprotective with your kids
Yes.
that you have now.
Yes, I'm a helicopter mom. I am very um overly protective. I am that mom. Like, I gotta know what they doing, what they, who they with and everything. I'm always with my children. My children are always with me. However, I have came to a comfort place where I can, I guess, relax my nervous system and my anxiety and these fears to, trust my children with someone.
Uh,
It's not too many. I do have a small village. They have a community. I'm not the only one that love them. I had to come to terms with that.
right.
You think
Yes.
that, as a parent, but I was able to let them go on vacation with family during the summertime. They just returned, and they were out of state. I didn't automatically have access, Texas is
Uh,
a hard state to drive out of, it's so many miles. But
yes, it is.
I just couldn't jump in the car and go get them. But
Right.
that I had to trust the process and pray to God, of course. And it's okay. They're here and they're safe, and we live to fight another
How
day.
old are your babies now?
Uh, 9, 7, and 2.
Okay, okay. You got two big babies. Okay, so we almost done. Um, I have a couple more questions for you, and we're gonna wrap this up. I really do appreciate you for taking this opportunity to come on. Bless the author. So, how do you? Okay, so yeah, in the book, I see you said that you lost your grandmama as well.
I lost my grandparents. Yes. So my grandfather, because they raised me, my maternal grandparents. I lost my grandfather when I was in the seventh grade. Actually, the month of Christmas and my birthday, December.
Oh, okay.
And
So,
yeah, so that's a difficult month for me. And then my grandmother, I was so proud that she was able to see me graduate college. She seen that milestone, that accomplishment, something that she always wanted me to be something. So for her to see that the
mhm,
year after the year ends, but she was still the strongest woman that I ever known. And she comes to me in a lot of dreams, and I think about her often and all the advice, everything she instilled in me, like is still a part of me. Like, you know, I I'm I'm very much grateful for her, and I still practice everything that she does, even
well,
like
mhm.
making sure my kids' meals are cooked every day at 3 p.m. Like that was something my grandmother always used to do when I came home from school.
Mhm. Nothing like them grandmamas.
Yeah.
So, how do you cope with the loss of
Yes.
CJ and your grandparents, well, your grandmother, today?
Um, with that, I mean, I just choose to honor them, keep their memory alive. I tell my kids a lot of times about CJ.
Mhm.
They talk about him like they met him, they know him, and I share with them a lot about my grandmother. And we cook her recipes, we do things. And then of course for CJ, any anniversaries, birthday, like we celebrate him as if he is still here, and we do something grand every time around that time.
Okay. So, someone that will listen to this episode about grief and they're in the middle of grieving and they're trying to come out, what would you say to them to help them along the way?
Okay, it kind of cut out. So you said, what advice would I give someone that has
Yes.
lost someone?
Yes.
Okay. If they are newly bereaved, I would advise them to just give themselves grace. Everything is not going to be perfect. If you need help, reach out to someone, a trusted person that can help you get it done. Because that first year, first 2 years really is very critical. You can either spiral, or you can move forward in a healing, productive way. So just having like somebody to be a companion during your grief is critical. Therapy is critical, and just taking your time and giving yourself grace.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. And so, this part of the show, I'm just going to remove myself and I'm going to allow you to just speak some encouragement into the people that will watch this show. Um, to speak from the heart, to speak what God has given you, whatever it is, you just speak and encourage the people.
Okay, everyone, I just want everyone to know that like, we are definitely living in uncertain times. It's a lot of hardships out here. A lot of grief, a lot of loss. Um, companies are downsizing or laying off. Financial losses are being hit. Just you know, everyone has their own individual problems going on. A lot of us can relate to each other more than we know. At this time, give people compassion, pray for them, have transparent conversations with everyone. Just be open and honest with your neighbors during this time. You never know what need they can fulfill of yours and vice versa. You never know who you can help with just the tools that you have. You don't have to be rich to give a listening ear, to give a helping hand, and to physically be present in people's lives. Is people going around feel like they're unseen, they're unheard, they have no way out, they feel alone. Some people don't feel loved or they're having a mental health crisis. Just be there. Don't ignore the signs. Mental health is everything. Normalize grief, normalize conversations around grief and mental health. We all have to trust someone, be there for them, hold their hand. God sent us here to be a help and support to others, be peer support to them, and to normalize these experiences, and most importantly, to bless someone. So never miss that opportunity to be a blessing, bless those around you, and to be a support.
We thank you. We thank you again and again and again for coming on Bless the Author. Tell the people how they can get in contact with you if they wanted to connect with you, because you also do coaching, right? We didn't talk about that.
Yes. I also offer one-on-one grief coaching and also group. You can find me on Facebook for the grief coaching, and that's Coaching with Ashley, or Pocket Full of Hope grief coaching and support. That's my grief business. Also, if you need resources, you can, or you would like to donate, you can find us on thebabystewart.org or Facebook, The Baby Stewart Foundation. And we also have a PayPal link for donations, and that's PayPal me, The Baby Stewart Found.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard her. So if you want to donate, we want to reach out to her about her coaching. And also, you can reach out to her, or your book's on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it's on Amazon. You can either get the ebook, which is cheaper, it's like $5, and also
Uh-huh.
the physical book is $10.
Okay, y'all. So you can reach out to her, go on Amazon and get her book. I really believe that if you're in the middle of grief, or if you're going in the beginning stages of grief, wherever you are, if you are grieving, this book will help you um, get through what you're going through. So we thank you again, Ashley, for being a guest on Bless the Author. Until next time, you all stay blessed. We love you to life here at Bless the Author.